Hello, everyone. None of you speak at once, by the way. Hello, Birdie. How is it going? And Luna, hello. How are you? Say hi, people. Don't be shy. As you saw here a moment ago, Cameru was here, but unfortunately he decides to depart. Couldn't stand too much time in the very small limelight, I guess. Hello, Yoshi. How are you doing? Love Yoshi's Island, by the way. Classic. Hello, Sumi. How is the very wonderful Sumi doing? What's the poll for? Yes or no? That's it. I never noticed until recently there's a poll function, so I just thought I'd give it a shot. But it looks like yes is winning. Good for yes. And let me put some more light on at the side. By the way, how's the music volume in the background? As you can tell, if you were someone that followed on Twitch, I'm no longer using licensed music anymore on the stream for the opening and be right back thing, just because YouTube is way more strict about that kind of thing. So I end up having to stick to as much royalty-free stuff as I can. So luckily I found a way to get a good amount of royalty-free stuff on Spotify, although some of it is not right. Like sometimes I've played music on streams, and after I finish streaming, I'll get a notification from YouTube saying, hey, this was copyrighted, which it wasn't, but whatever, no point in debating with YouTube. But yeah, how are you doing today, people? What is going on in your lives? I'm neck deep in labor union history just so I can pick an acronym for a fictional labor union button. I don't know what that could be. I mean, I guess you could do something around either the industry or the area that it's in, or incorporate both of those letters into it. Could have like something a bit funny, a bit serious, a bit symbolic of what you're trying to do. I'm doing okay, just had a blast reading the comment section of that last video. Yeah, I'll admit I didn't go through many of the comments, just because I try not to with videos just for the sake of my own sanity, because you can really end up down a rabbit hole by going through those comments of any YouTube section, quite frankly. But for something like that, yeah, you really do have your wild cards of the kind of people that show up. You either get weird incel type people. With that video, I got at least one straight up white supremacist who unfortunately had to deliver me the news that this video isn't gonna get me a Korean girlfriend. So I'll have to let my wife know it's not gonna happen. You know, it's really sad. I was really hoping, you know, I spent a month of my life making that video with the real hopes that it would have landed me a Korean girlfriend, but dreams dashed on rocks, I guess. I'm glad someone told me it. I'm glad I heard it from, you know, a white supremacist though. But yeah, I was glad to see that, you know, the majority of the comments were very positive feedback. You know, even from like, I had a few comments from Korean women as well who said that they were glad that it was being brought to attention, which, you know, it is one of those things that is like very overlooked, especially by the rest of the world. Yeah, I saw some of the comments that you posted in the Discord. Bizarre people out there, and people with way too much time on their hands, that's for sure. I've settled on HSTA, the Hawkesboro Socialist Trade Alliance. That works, you know? I mean, that's, you know, can keep it simple, straightforward, says what it needs to say. I guess it depends, like, if you want to get like a bit more clever about it or something, like throw in like some kind of acronym as opposed to just an initialism. But initialisms work, you know. In fact, there's a little tidbit for you. There's a difference between an acronym and an initialism. So, for example, the word scuba is an acronym, because that's a self-contained underwater breathing apparatus. It's a series of initials that can be pronounced as a word. That is an acronym. However, a series of letters together, like for example, FBI, you know, Federal Bureau of Investigations, if that's pronounced as individual letters, then that is an initialism, not an acronym. Imparting knowledge. Some of you may have learned a new thing today. Thanks for correcting me. Oh no, so I have to say, everyone thinks there is acronym, but you know, it's fine. It's no great sin to use that term for it. But yeah, there is a differentiation between the two of them. Because I don't think I've ever heard anyone use the term initialism, to be honest with you. Korean women, my dream. Oh, one can dream. Do you work or only YouTube? I only do YouTube. The kind of stuff I make demands way too much time for it to be a part-time job alongside another job. Just because, you know, I got to do all the research, editing, filming, all that kind of stuff. So it's very demanding in time. And unfortunately, I just don't have the, how can I put it? I don't have the bandwidth when it comes to energy of being able to do so many things at once. It's like an ADHD related thing, where, you know, you can't invest in so many things at any given time. But I accept it for what it is. But yeah, it is just the YouTube side of things that I dedicate my time to. And streaming, of course. Are we so hard over the North Korea better one? Yeah, I don't know when... I can never tell when people like that are joking or whether they legitimately mean it. Because I know there are some people out there, quite a lot of people in the West, who legitimately believe that North Korea is a great country and that they've got it all figured out. And those people that believe that, generally a little bit fascist, if we're being honest. The video was quite informative. Well, I'm glad that you liked it. Yeah, that was an interesting subject to dive into, because originally it was only just going to be about the South Korean games industry, which has been growing very quickly in the past like decade or so. But and yeah, it stemmed from the fact that I read that article on Stellar Blade, and the director of that basically just saying, we paid special attention to Eve, the main character's backside, in other words, arse, to make sure that players had something nice to look at. Which, you know, is a very straightforward admission that they just, like, wanted a character in there that, like, just looked hot. And that was it. Which is, yeah, very straightforward in this day and age. But then I saw, like, you know, there was a whole... I read up on certain other things within the industry, and of course it turned out there was way more to it. There was more about, like, the treatment of women within the industry, the representations of women within the media they produce, and then there was the, you know, stigmatized sect of people out there, i.e. women, who were being controlled both inside and outside of the industry by players and employers. And then from there it just sort of ballooned. Like, I found out so many other things related to the subject, which it was just like, okay, well, this can't just be the games industry. Like, there's way too much to this, that it would be a disservice to the issue at hand just to focus on this one thing. And it just, yeah, like I said, it just ballooned from there. It just reached out. And yeah, I'm very happy with the final product of it. I would have liked to have covered more things about, like, the history of North Korea. I would like to have covered more things about the history of South Korea and its treatment of women and how it's influenced the treatment in modern day. But, you know, there's only so much you can do on a given subject. And I would have preferred just to, like, focus on the present and everything. What's the poll for? The poll is just a joke, to be honest with you. Tell you what, I'm going to end the poll. Yes wins. Congratulations, yes. I suggested to make a poll after every video of the most hilarious / worst comments on the Discord so we can vote on the most unhinged comment. That could be pretty fun, yeah. And if people want to go comment hunting and post their submissions, that could be a fun little activity for us. Especially since Discord has that nice poll feature now. So yeah, might give that a shot on the next one. The next one might be a bit controversial, I'm not sure. But we'll see. I have actually started working on the next video already. I'll get into what it's about in a moment. I was promised sad boy Salari. Am I not sad enough, really? I have what has been referred to in the past as resting depressed face. And I think that is an apt description of how I look. Because when my face is neutral, I always just look sad, like... See? I can't help it. I remember I used to go to this coffee shop pretty frequently. I used to hang out there with friends pretty often. And whenever I was there on my own, on at least 3 occasions where I was just sat there, drinking my coffee or tea, looking at nothing, I had at least 3 people, across numerous occasions, approach me and ask me if I'm alright, just because they saw me there, like... I'm like, yeah, I'm fine, thanks. Yes, Camus did briefly come back our way, but unfortunately he zipped out. He may have the zoomies, I couldn't tell. There is actually a huge new drama in South Korea right now. You all know BTS, right? Their company HYBE has beef with their own creative director and co-CEO for conspiracy. What kind of conspiracy? That's some financial stuff? Need some stupid, silly thumbnail art? I mean, I'm always in the market for that, especially for streams. I have my template for the stream. Ooh, my tea just splattered somehow. Yeah, I try to have a little bit of fun. You know, funny, one of the annoying things about doing the stream things, like I set up a waiting room for the stream at least like usually like 12 hours-ish before I get started. Every single time I set up a waiting room, I get like a handful of people unsubbing, and I have no fucking clue why that is. It's just like, oh, you gonna stream? I'm unsubbing then. I don't get that. Like, what's your issue? Oh, it's a weird one. Like, I think I lost like 30 subs after posting that waiting room. I guess I can't have fun with my thumbnails. I don't know. There are some people out there that get weird though whenever you try to have fun with your content, especially like when you talk about some serious stuff. Like, I remember, because I got a load of people, like the majority of subs that I got was back from when I released that Loneliness in Japan video, which, you know, was a super serious video and it needed to be for the subject matter. But after I started like branching out a bit more into, you know, still serious topics but with a bit more levity attached to it, I saw like loads of comments following that up saying like, you know, oh, I thought you'd be taking yourself more seriously. I didn't subscribe to this channel so I could hear jokes, and not very funny jokes at that. Okay. Take life too seriously. Why not? I'm sure it'll serve you very well. Life's way too short to be taken seriously anyway. There are moments to be serious and there are moments just to mess around. It's perfectly fine. What's your favorite Radiohead song? Good question. I mean, my favorite Radiohead album is OK Computer, and if I had to pick a song off there, I would probably say either No Surprises or perhaps The Tourist. But if I were to look at like their broader discography, I really like their non-studio version of True Love Waits. Like, that is fantastic. It was okay on a Moonshaped Pool, but I always liked the raw live recorded version of it, especially when Tom York messed up his lyrics, because they performed that so rarely that he'd always forget the lyrics for it. So I have a resting depressed face. Then you know the struggle. Just people assume that you're either really sad or that you're deep in thought. Like, can I be both? Can I just be fine with my sad face? I have resting anxious face apparently, and my voice doesn't help much. So resting anxious face, would that just be more like wider eyes, sort of like looking alert most of the time? I can't say I've ever met anyone with resting anxious face. I have resting dolphin face. People think I'm friendly and I'm super socially anxious, so I prefer to not be talked to. Yeah. I've met people like that before. They have like a natural look of someone that's like very outgoing and everything, but turns out they're pretty damn shy. I mean, I get told like I also have a very relaxed demeanor, and to an extent that is true. You know, I don't get overworked or anything like that, but at the same time, like, you know, I'm a very anxious person on the inside. Like, it's a struggle to cope with anxiety, so I just like sort of keep it in check, I guess. Hello Sly Fox, how are you doing? And Water Nixie and Abizar Tahir, was it Tahir? Hello, how are you all doing? Nice to have you here. They're going to the police to report this creative director and CEO for New Jeans, who's a huge girl group at the moment, and she held a press conference and had a narcissistic breakdown on TV. Oh my god. So, how do you mean a narcissistic breakdown? Like sort of victimizing herself or something like that? Hype claims this woman, Min Hee Jin, tries to claim more shares in Hybe or HYBE without their permission. God, what a mess. That's probably YouTube acting up. It does that sometimes. It could be, yeah. I mean, you know, there's those like bots that subscribe to channels too, so those things could be part of it as well. It's just one of those annoying things. Like, I've noticed that since I've started streaming on YouTube, I've started like steadily losing subscribers, and you know, I think there's just like a lot of people on YouTube that don't want live notifications for the channel, which is kind of silly. It could also be ones because YouTube does prioritize channels that go live on there that you are subscribed to. So it could, as much as I hate to say it, be the case where like someone who's been subscribed to me for a while and they haven't watched my content and they're no longer interested in what I produce, they might have gotten the live thing show up at the time, and I'm like, oh, Salari, I remember, he was that guy who I watched a couple of videos of, but then he released stuff that I don't care about anymore. I'll unsubscribe to them. It's the reality of things. It's the reality of things. I just accept it for what it is. It's fine. It's a very fickle game. I think that's the first time I've ever seen someone use one of those emote things in a corner. Ooh. Basically, it's a deja vu of what happened to 50/50, that TikTok hit group that can't be found again because the creative director tried to steal them from their company. Huge, nasty lawsuit. God, this industry is brutal. It makes the Western music industry look pretty damn timid by comparison. Not that the Western music industry is good. It is absolutely abysmal. Which, you know, is one of those things that, like, since I've brought up the K-pop industry a couple times now, in videos, obviously in the recent one, and I did a full video on the trouble with the K-pop industry in the past. And the deflection that I got from that, and I believe some in this video as well, was, but what about the Western industry? And I really hate the idea that like people think that condemnation of one industry is a promotion of the other one. I was actually going to put a disclaimer into this video, which was an attempt to counteract the most common criticisms that you tend to get on a video like the one I just did. Like, for example, when it comes, like one of the big ones that you tend to see pretty often, and I completely disagree with it, is that if you are of another culture or even another race, then criticisms of another culture which is composed largely of another race that isn't white, then you shouldn't be allowed to criticize that. So, for example, me as a white man, I shouldn't be allowed to criticize South Korea because I don't live there, and therefore I don't live there, I don't share the same ethnicity / race of them, therefore I am excluded from criticizing it, which is bullshit. You know, I've said it before in the past that like, if a culture, regardless of the race that it's composed of, denigrates any particular group, you know, whether it's women, LGBTQ people, whatever it might be, if they denigrate them in any kind of way, then that culture is deserving of criticism. It is very, very simple. You know, it's a criticism of a culture is very, very different from the criticism of a race. And I know that people complain about that stuff just because they want to find some way of deflecting, but it's really pointless and harmful to do so. Secondly, like the other disclaimer that I wanted to include was the fact that it's just because you omit certain counterpoints to it. So say, for example, if I criticize the South Korean / K-pop industry, some people take that as me saying that like other industries that are similar to it, like the Western music industry, is superior to it, which once again, completely pointless, a harmful deflection. It doesn't accomplish anything. But yeah, boy did I see that a lot in that K-pop video that I did in the past. Like, what about the Western industry? That's terrible too. I was like, we're not talking about that right now though, are we? We're talking about this industry. I'm not saying this other industry is good. But yeah, I left out the disclaimer. You know, I let people figure it out for themselves, and some people have still complained. Because the thing is, people are just going to complain and say this stuff regardless. People just ignore these kinds of things. It is what it is. Gertz Weinreich, hello. I let my Twitch sub run out, but to compensate, I upped my Patreon and became a YouTube member, so it should work out better. And yeah, well, thank you very much, Gertz. That's very, very generous of you. And yeah, like, if you are a Twitch subscriber, or if you were a Twitch subscriber, feel free to let your subscription lapse or cancel it. It's perfectly fine. You know, if I get subscriber money on Twitch, unfortunately I can't even cash it out until it hits a certain threshold, so it is kind of just sat there for a good while, and I have no means of refunding it, unfortunately. So yeah, if you were a subscriber on Twitch, please just let your subscription lapse. It's perfectly fine. And if you want to become a member here, it's actually cheaper than Twitch. It's $2.99 as opposed to the $5 on Twitch. And you get the benefit of getting videos early without ads, and these lovely emotes that were created by an artist friend of mine and one of the wonderful people on my Discord channel. There we are. Look at them. Ooh. If you thought the Korean gaming industry was bad, you haven't seen the wildest of Korea in K-pop. Oh yeah, believe me, I have no doubts that the K-pop industry is way worse than the gaming industry there. The gaming industry there is still in its infancy, really. Like, Stellar Blade is the first AAA game that they released over there. There's actually been some news around that. I'll get into it in a moment. Let me catch up with the chat a bit. Anxiety is worse. It's horrible. Yeah, I've lived with anxiety since I was like 15 years old, and yeah, it's not great. I take medication for it, but you know, it still lingers. I like YouTube streams. It's less overwhelming than Twitch. Yeah, YouTube streams are pretty nice. There's like I mean, feature-wise, it could do with some work. Like bots aren't well integrated into YouTube, and you know, certain like certain widgets, like for example my chat thing, like the chat thing looks great, and as you'll see I'm using a different color today because it has a nice selection, but unfortunately it doesn't allow for, because of YouTube side of things, it doesn't allow it to like read the custom emotes as they're supposed to be, which is why, you know, you'll see those emotes just show up as text in it, but you know, it shows up in the chat. She was victimizing herself in fake crime while it was so obvious she committed treason to HYBE. She was angry with HYBE main CEO that they earn too much. He earns what she earns. Okay. Rowan Ellis, hello, hi, I made it. I'm glad that you made it. Thank you very much for being here. How are you doing today? Megaron, Ronathan, how are you, Ron? Hope you're having a lovely day. Well, thank you very much, Ron. How are you enjoying? Ron recently informed us that he is sort of in the semi-Stanley Cup group now, where he enjoys a gigantic container of beverages every day. I don't know how to put that. He's part of the club of like giant cup havers. You know, like the Stanley Cup people who drink like 8 liters of water a day and all that stuff. Earns half of what she earns. Oh, okay. I told you we need that poll of shame, the worst commenters per video. I might throw it out there next time I release a video. Oh yeah, so yeah, the Stellar Blade thing. Like I said, you know, I included the thing about Stellar Blade at in the last video. 8 liters of water. I know it's too much. Yeah, that you'll get hyperhidrosis if you have that much. I was being hyperbolic, but you know what I mean. But yeah, Stellar Blade recently released on PlayStation 5. It was out this Friday. It's been getting all right reviews. I think it's like 7s, 8 out of 10s, and you know, I've played the demo for it. It's not bad. The story's fucking terrible, and the voice acting is wooden as all hell, but you know, it's not a bad game. It is pretty fun, but there is like the gamer TM crowd, like the people that you know, get weird about censorship in games and the lack of sexualization of characters. This has been like a historic moment for them. Like, this game has been held up as the thing that for lack of a better term, it's making games great again, and that is just because of the portrayal of the main character Eve, who, you know, is quite heavily sexualized throughout the big variety of outfits that she can wear, one of which is a straight up skin suit. There's also like a lingerie outfit, I believe. But yeah, it's because of her and because of the attitude of Shift Up Studios of, I just want to look at some ass in their games, that they've like hold it up as like the banner of someone is finally listening to us, like it's, you know, the turnaround moment for them, a victory basically. But like there was this it turned out like there was a change, and they were actually saying before the release of the game that it's going to be released fully uncensored, which, you know, like I said, these people give a shit about censorship way too much. And, you know, they think that censorship, they think that any kind of change in a game, especially in artistic direction, whether that's character design or something else, they think that that is like something that's being robbed from them, as opposed to just a designer making a change or something. Now, tell you what, let me see if I can find this article. 1 second. Excuse me. Okay. All right. So let me see if this brings up everything. Okay, I got it. Yeah, this Kotaku article on it. So yeah, first of all, it was brought up by a Blizzard developer, and yeah, it was this tweet here. Unfortunate but not surprising to see Stellar Blade censored despite promises that the game would be uncensored in all regions. Sony wasn't going to allow that, and they have the track record to show that they can't be trusted, but perhaps it can be reversed. And yeah, Stellar Blade will be uncensored, big ass on there, very subtle. So yeah, there was, like, this was the original outfit here. As you can see, it's got a pretty deep plunge there. But after the game was patched day 1, they added a piece of material onto this outfit. And this is one of the unlockable outfits on the game. And then there was also changes in the amount of blood that would appear on Eve's body. I can't remember if this, I think like this is the after, this was the before, and as you can see, like, she's got a bunch of blood on her, and there she doesn't. And let's see, I haven't seen these comparisons yet, so this is new to me. Okay, so a bit of material just at the top of a bust. I guess that's the old one where it was more visible. And whatever the fuck is going on here, I don't know. These people have way too much time on their hands. So yeah, there were, and this has like driven them fucking insane. Where it's like, how could they do this to us? The Shift Up Studios lied, and this is Sony's fault, because the thing is, like, Sony Entertainment does actually like keeping things a bit more PG when it comes to their games. So they will ask, especially things, you know, related to sexuality, to be toned down a bit. They're not as bad as Nintendo, but, you know, they still do that stuff. But yeah, they're kind of calling it the revival of Gamergate, a betrayal of sorts. And apparently the developers also said that it wasn't their choice, which could be complete bullshit for all I know. They started up a petition, a change.org petition, which I believe has received over, I think it was like over 20,000 signatures. I haven't seen this. The petition website and the voices for some of the videos. I feel like we have to watch these. Let me pause this shit.
This petition is not only to free Stellar Blade, but to send a clear message to Sony, Nintendo, and the rest of the publishers in the gaming industry that we players will not tolerate any form of censorship moving forward. Thank you.
I'm really disappointed because as a grown man, I really expected to have at least some type of responsibility to look after myself and do what I want in the comforts of my own home. Yeah, that's it. This bullshit.
Hey Sony, I want you to censor off the games, Stellar Blade, because I'm looking forward to play this game as well. Because my game won't be here until Wednesday from the mail, and I want things to change and what's going on around the world and stuff. And sign a petition, all right? And stuff. All right, bye.
What? With all the things that are going on in the world, still about, okay, bye.
Hello, my name is Jeremy, and I am signing the Stellar Blade petition because I too am tired of how Sony is constantly censoring games left and right, back and forth, for absolutely no reason whatsoever, to fit some stupid, worthless, pointless agenda. Stellar Blade is definitely a breath of fresh air, and it needs to stay that way. Thank you.
Can you imagine what we could accomplish as a society if we dedicated this much energy to something that actually meant something? I wonder. It's kind of like that meme of like, you know, the future if X didn't exist or if X was this, whatever. You know what I mean. But wow, really. But yeah, that's what they're getting upset over. Some minor changes in a video game. Before this, they actually managed to, I think they made it like the highest rated game on Metacritic for a PlayStation game. Audience score at the very least. And like I said, like, it's an okay game. It's okay. Like, that's the best way I can put it. The combat's fun. That's about it. But yeah, they've really been putting it out there as like, you know, the game that will change everything. Like it's their fucking like Martin Luther King moment or something like that, but for, I don't know, sad men. But that's it. Like, that's them just getting upset over this ridiculous thing. Oh yeah, and they've also been cancelling their PlayStation Plus subscriptions en masse. I would just like... See, I think about situations like this, and I always wonder what it would be like if these people revealed to like their parents or their grandparents or their guardians what they are doing with their free time. It's like, so what have you been up to recently, Jonathan? Like, have you been keeping well? Have you been keeping busy? What's been on your mind lately? Well, Mum, see, this new video game came out. It's called Stellar Blade, and in it there's this woman who wears this outfit, and she can wear all of these other outfits, and well, the people that made the game, they censored it really recently. Oh, really, Jonathan? What did they do? Like, did they cover up some offensive language? Did they remove an objectionable representation of a marginalized character? No. It's worse than that, Mum. So they had an outfit in the game which was like this swimsuit with a little bunny tail on it. And at first, someone just knocked on the fucking door. I'll be right back. 1 second. I gotta answer the door. Perfect timing. Alright, I'm sorry about that. Yes, as D. Salari said, maintenance did come around. That was like one of the nicest people I've ever spoken to. It was kind of funny. Like, he just came around to have a look at some things in the apartment, see if they were all right. And let me turn my light around. And I generally like. I turned off like my light there, and I turned on the main light just so it didn't look too weird. But he was like, he looked at my PC and he saw like the lights on it, and it's like, oh, that's really fancy. And then he noticed the camera that's up there, and then he asked, like, you know, well, what do you do? And I have my silver play button just over there, and I just like, oh, I'm a YouTuber, pointed over to it, and he was just like, oh, what? And he just got so excited all of a sudden. He'd never heard of me or anything like that. I mean, I've never run into anyone that knows who I am. But he was just like absolutely stunned to see that there was a silver play button there. And he like whipped his phone out immediately, took a picture of us. Oh, do you mind if I take a picture? I've never seen one of these. I was like, yeah, go right ahead. Like, it's perfectly fine. He said that he'd check out the channel. He typed in my name on his phone. Like, super nice guy. Kind of made my day, to be honest with you. But yeah, that was a nice moment. And he changed the filter on our AC unit, which is also a nice bonus. But yeah, that was very nice. That was a heartwarming moment, I won't lie. And yeah, I do hope that he likes my stuff. I hope that he checks out my channel and doesn't hate it. See, I've always wondered, like, what it's like, because, you know, there's some people on YouTube that make some really weird content and everything. Like, if you like one of those toy channels or something that just does, like, weird shit with toys, and, you know, you go around telling people, well, what's your job? I'm a YouTuber. What do you do on YouTube? I take baths in weird children's toys, like Orbeez or something like that. And I'm like, okay, well, let's do your yearly examination then. Anyway, just get myself resituated. Anyway, yeah, where were we? Should I continue my little moment? Yeah, so, like, you know, you get the son saying, like, you know, what's got you upset, son? Well, there's a character in the game, she wears this suit, and at first I could see, all of us could see the inside of her boobies, inner boob, and it was the best moment of my life. And then they took it away, Mum. They took it away from us. The gamers, they owed it to us. But Sony, they took it away. And now me and thousands of other people like me in society are struggling to cope with this slight. I can't believe it, Mum. Oh, that's a real shame, Jonathan. Is that all that's happening in your life? What do you mean, is that all? Like, that's truly one of the most awful things that a person must cope with. A video game being changed ever so slightly so I can see less of a character's boobs. Mum, really? How could you be that insensitive? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize it was so important to you. Do you have a girlfriend yet? No, this is more important, Mum. And scene. Hello, Star. How are you doing? Nice to see you. And Dylan Reed Miller. Dylan, who is the very kind person who's helped me with quite a few bits of research in my videos. How's it going? Mum doesn't understand. She doesn't understand. It's important work, you know? Going around sending all those change.org petitions around just so you can get more visible cleavage in a game. Yeah, like I said, it's, yeah, like that kind of controversy. It is the kind of thing where you really need to, like, take a moment and, like, look at yourself, like, have, like, a good look at yourself and say, see, like, you know, what am I doing with my life? What am I trying to accomplish here? What is at risk by trying to invest myself or win in this kind of situation? And I mean, there are so few boobs on the internet, we really have to fight. But that's the thing, yeah, it's like, you know, if you want, like, just look on Steam, like, there is, like, new, like, sex games being released every single day, quite frankly. Like, it is all out there, and, you know, like, the thing is, like, even I see them on my Steam. Like, if I go right now to the top sellers, I'm pretty much guaranteed to see one of them. Like, in fact, there we go. I'll pull it up. Where's my, like, ugh. Okay. Yeah, like, look at this. This is new and trending on Steam. Is that one? No, although it does say romance. It might be. I mean, Jesus Christ. Fetish Room 18 plus. There we go. I mean, look, you know, those are some higher fidelity graphics. Love Sucks, Night 2. Nightly Passions. Sex Thrones. Prologue. So there's going to be another one. Ooh. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 sex games. New sex games. And more that's, like, arrived before it. Like, Steam is full of them. But I think, I don't know, I think in, like, that kind of situation is them thinking, like, because it's such a high profile title that it has, like, such a immense amount of meaning behind it. But it really doesn't. It's not a victory. It's just, I don't know. You know, the thing is, when I think about stuff like this, though, like, I've had times in my life where I felt, like, truly pathetic. Like, I felt like a gigantic loser. Which, you know, in the past, when it was like, you know, I was single, when I felt like, you know, I would repel any woman that would come near me, that I just felt like I just didn't have anything to offer anyone. Like, I had these feelings and I had them really strong. I felt like a giant fucking loser around those times. But now when, like, I look at other people who behave like this and who invest so much of that energy into the most meaningless of things, it makes me look back on myself and realize, actually, I wasn't that bad. Like, I was doing okay by comparison. Yeah, I was a bit of a loser, but, you know, at least I'm not them. So thank you to all those people that made me feel actually okay with who I've been at the lowest points in my life. Jesus Christ. I'm okay just finishing a couple of job applications. Oh, how is that going? Someone get the academy on the line. Yeah, it's everywhere. Like, it's just so sad that, like, these people are in the thousands. I mean, one day there might be people that grow up. There might be people in, like, you know, their early 20s, late teens, all that kind of stuff. But those videos we watched a moment ago, like, those were guys that were, like, probably in their late 20s, 30s. It's like, you need to get your shit together at that point. My mom never understood that you can't shut off the PC mid-game. Yeah, my parents were always like that too, especially if it was an online game. Like, I can't pause it, Mom. And they just thought you were lying. And here I thought wanting more hairstyles was all the rage. I mean, I'm all for more hairstyles in a game. I am always thoroughly disappointed when there is a game with a character creator and there isn't enough hairstyles in it. That's why I had to pick the catgirl in Final Fantasy XIV. I'm good, can't stick around too long today, but wanted to pop in for a bit. Either way, glad to have you here, Star. Glad to have you here, Star. Always a pleasure. That was my grandma. She unplugged my GameCube during Animal Crossing 1. I've never screamed so loud. Ooh, yeah, that's a bad one to unplug. Just go on Twitch for women jellies. Yeah, exactly. But I don't know. I feel like a lot of this crowd, like, I know that some people have said this overtly. I know that some people in these groups have said this overtly, but I think, like, they might have, like, gotten to the point where they generally tend to find fictional depictions of women, like, more attractive now. Like, you know, you get those people that's like 2D's better than 3D in that kind of way. And I think there's some truth to that. I honestly do. Like, it's that level of detachment, really. Of course, not all of them are like that, but, you know, it does seem a bit, I don't know, seems a bit off. I will say the only thing that would have improved it is if the game character was to sprawl out in front of the studio doors yelling, Stellar Blade, Stellar Blade. It's a smart joke there, Ron. A nice Streetcar Named Desire reference. Always well worth it. There's a bad sex game on Steam that I worked on, and it embarrasses me now. I won't ask you what it is, but if you do wish to reveal what it was, Birdie, by all means, feel free to share. Not that I'll buy it or anything like that. I have way too much self-awareness than to buy a sex game on Steam. And it's frankly weird to me that there's people out there that just, like, have a library full of sex games and just like, yep, everyone can see this. A potential future partner can see my Steam library. I don't get paid royalties or anything, and I was super unpaid for it, so, oh, okay. I think you told me about that before, actually, when you were DMing me. Or at least it rings a bell. People do love to invest in meaningless things these days. Yes, they do. And like I said, if any amount of that energy was invested in something else, God knows what else we could accomplish. We could have fixed climate change by now if these people directed their energies to something that mattered. That's why there's all those AIs to both generate naked women and put modest clothes on women who dress more revealingly. It's about the power to control women. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, You know, it's these people wanting women to be represented, the visuals of women in media to be represented in a way that they find palatable and doesn't give women their own autonomy. So, for example, in a game like The Last of Us Part 2, people would complain about Ellie's presentation, and they don't consider it from the angle of, from a narrative standpoint, how would Ellie want to present herself to the world? Does she want to be someone that owns her sexuality, that she puts it forward, puts it out there to people, that she wants to be recognized for certain parts of her anatomy? And on a more grander level of that, is there any time in the post-apocalypse to put on makeup every single day and find clothing that's brighter and cleaner and all that kind of stuff? And, you know, from the take or from the perspective of the people on the other side of that argument, is that I'm paying for a game, I'm a male, a straight male, I should have these characters looking how I want them to look, rather than how they and the person that wrote them wanted to look. So yeah, it is a control thing. It's creating the conditions in the market which cater to men more than any other audience, because there is still that very outdated mindset that gaming is an exclusively male hobby, even though for a very long time it's pretty much almost been 50-50. And, you know, that's been the case since, like, I don't know, I think like mid-2000s, something like that. It's not 70-30, it's not 80-20, you know, it is very much down the middle, but people still see it as like, hey, it's a male thing. Bullshit. Even in South Korea, actually, I can't remember, I don't think I included it in the video, but 42% of people that play video games in South Korea are women. A lot of it is mobile games, but at the same time, like, mobile games are also similar to Stellar Blade in that they include characters in them that cater towards male tastes. For example, Goddess of Victory Nikkei, which I included in the video. Can we just get black hairstyles that aren't the Killmonger? Yeah, the Killmonger haircut. I shared something in the Discord a while back. There was a black writer on IGN that spoke about the Killmonger hairstyle. It was a really great article talking about, like, how it's pretty much just lazy and how it has this assumption that it has a great deal of popularity among black people. And not only that, given the vast array of styles that black people have, it's them defaulting to this one style is kind of ignoring, while including a black person in a game is great and all, it's not really exploring the culture of black people and, you know, their very long and illustrious culture of hairstyles. So just going to that one hairstyle, yeah, it's lazy. By the way, if you don't know what I'm referring to with the Killmonger hair, it's basically braided hair that's like sort of, I guess, like this shape. You know Killmonger from Black Panther? It's that hairstyle, basically. But it's in, like, Spider-Man 2, because Miles Morales has it now. Prince of Persia, which is a weird one, because that character, as the title says, is Persian. So I don't know why they gave him a black hairstyle, to be honest with you. And as someone who is half Persian, it's like, I want to do that. But yeah, it's like everywhere in games. Eddie Gordo in Tekken 8. I think there was someone in Mortal Kombat 1 as well that had it. Yeah, it's very prevalent. It's the #1 skipped eye color, so I can barely create myself in games. What was your eye color? I think I missed it in the previous one. I mean, my eyes are kind of green. Hard to tell from there, I think. And they, even though I don't really recreate myself in games or anything, like, I don't like to do that. Just because why would I want to play myself? I suck. But yeah, like, I can never get, like, this particular eye color in a game, and it's a pretty rare eye color from what I've been told. It's not hazel, it's kind of green, I guess. Although the light does hit it to make it look a bit browner. Oh, gray. Okay, I missed that one. Sorry. I mean, I feel I lost this job Friday, immediately going back to school to be a chemist. It's not hard, and I'm on the spectrum. Sudden change isn't my favorite, but you adapt. Yeah, that's true. I'm sorry about losing your job, by the way. But yeah, change isn't great when you're on the spectrum. Change isn't great in general, but you know, that's life for you. You're trying to find the new normals, one after another. You know, you'll get there. I never see proper hazel either. Yeah, true. It's a very limited spectrum. My favorite bit of silly game censorship was the vagina bones controversy a few years ago from Tokyo Mirage Session. Oh boy, that was a good one. Let me pull that up. Yep, this is the one that Star is referring to. At Censored Gaming, hashtag Tokyo Mirage Sessions, not only did they remove her cleavage, but they also removed her vagina bones. I can't remember what the proper name of that area is. I think it's Venus, something's or other. I can't remember. But yeah, according to this, clearly, doctor, those are her vagina bones. And it is a travesty that they took away her bones. How's she supposed to walk? Gamers. And characters never have cute bangs for their hair. It's always some ugly Dora cut. I mean, hey, my Final Fantasy XIV character has amazing bangs. Not to brag. It's not like I made the bangs anyway, I will say that. I mean, as a pelvis, yeah. I know that the lines... I know one term for those lines, but I won't say it because it's disgusting. But yeah, there is like a particular term for those lines. Or those grooves, whatever you might call them. I recently got back in touch with an anti-woke friend. He has a very distorted, depressive prism to look at the world through. And that's the kind of path that you end up on, because you realize that like progress is completely going against your values and how you see the world. And there's that need that they develop just to keep pushing back at things, even though it very clearly isn't working out in that respect. That's why like Stellar Blade was such an important thing to them, because it was like, this is us winning. You know, we have a AAA game out there now which speaks to us as male gamers who want to have sexualized characters included in our game, stuff that caters to the male gaze. So that's why it was such a big deal, and that's why with that censorship, it's treated as like a crushing blow to their movement, because they got so close and then it was just taken away by them. Which, you know, to be honest, if you think about it, it is kind of funny, really. Like, you really want to hitch your wagon to that. Everyone needs a hobby, I guess. Persian, his furry children, Persian. I would like a Persian cat, even though they shed like crazy. One of my dad's friends growing up, he had a Persian cat, and that thing was glorious. Barrett from Final Fantasy VII is the best hairstyle. Yeah, Barrett's a great design on it. I finished Final Fantasy VII Rebirth recently, and that was really good. Ruin the ending though. Like, goddamn, like, be more vague. It's, yeah, I don't know if you've played Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I won't spoil it, but yeah, that ending really takes the wind out of the sails. Way too obscure for its own good. Yeah, that's true. He did have pulled back locks in the original. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's just kind of got like a bit of a high top in the new one, and it's got like a bit of volume to it, a bit of height to it. I always make a blue head pronoun version of myself in games for some reason. See, I generally, so like when it comes to like games like MMOs, for example, or something like that, I generally tend to pick women characters just because, like, clothing wise, they just like in reality, really, clothing options for men are fucking boring. Like, there's not much you can do to mix and match, and it just becomes like really stale trying to like figure out some kind of fashion. Whereas like I like dressing up my characters, and the choice for women characters are always infinitely more interesting than male characters. It just looks boring on men, to be honest with you. Like, it's just what it is. I like doing the dress up and all that kind of stuff. It's fun in that respect. Same with the hairstyles and everything. So yeah, I tend to go for women characters just so I can play a bit of dress up, because it's way more fun. So, like I said, it's kind of like in reality. For men, you get like t-shirt, shirt, pants, shorts, hoodie, jacket, vest, and that's it. That's all your men's clothing. I'm sure there's more, but yeah, that's just what it feels like at time. Like, there's so much more, and all those varieties. No real differences with patterns, nothing really particularly interesting, not much in the way of variations between them. It's all very, very cookie cutter as clothing goes. Oh, and shoes, I guess, if we're gonna stretch it a bit further. I know the term you mean, but I've only heard it used to refer to men, lol, probably because 99% of my friends are LGBT. Yeah, in reference to the V's, I guess. I think you're on the same page as me, Dylan. Like I said, I won't say it, but is the thing that you're thinking, or that you're referring to, that you're thinking of, are the initials CG by any chance? Like I said, I'm not going to say it out loud because this is YouTube, and I kind of find it as a disgusting term, if I'm honest with you. I'm so grateful for the progress things are making, even if it's incremental. I'm kind of glad, I don't know what term y'all are on about. I shall remain ignorant. Yeah, there we go. Dylan knows what I'm talking about. The slang term for the V's on a person's pelvis does indeed have another term, which is CG. Alright, I'll give you a hint. The G stands for gutters. And that's it. But yeah, the progress is really great. Like, seeing the progress with the changes in representations, with inclusivity, all that stuff. And yeah, it is slow, but it's, I don't know, I'd say it's faster than we think. Especially in Western markets. And the Japanese market is actually getting much better at being inclusive too. When it comes to like different types of characters. Like, for example, in Final Fantasy 16, like, that was the first time I'd ever seen like an openly gay couple in that game, in a Japanese game, at least like unabashedly gay. And you know, it was a major character in it too. It wasn't just some background fodder. And yeah, in like a Final Fantasy game, in a game that's going to sell in the millions around the world, that's a pretty remarkable thing to include. So kudos to him in that respect. Little by little, you know? Interesting, I got a Manscaped ad now. Oh god, they're listening. Hey, are your vagina bones hairy? Then how about Manscaped? My cat is half Russian blue. I used to have a Russian blue cat in the UK called Jessie. Lovely cat. Unfortunately, I lost her. As I'd lived in... Well, my parents ended up looking after my pets. But yeah, Jessie was a lovely cat. Beautiful cat. But yeah, unfortunately lost her. Not lost, like she died. But yeah, they are lovely cats, Russian blues. I love dressing up characters often more than playing most of the games. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Like, even in Dragon's Dogma, which I played that recently, the character creator in that is fantastic. And I really love spending all that time with it, just making something that you think, you know, looks good. You know, it's like I said in that video recently, you know, there is like the misconception like a lot of more progressive people, or people that want to see progress, you leftists and all that stuff, the woke mob, Like, there's this idea that, like, they're all completely against characters which have, like, any element of sexuality to them. Like, they think that, you know, if it was up to us, then we'd have all these game characters wearing potato sacks instead of anything that would even remotely touch the skin, which is bullshit. Because, you know, the irony is that, like, people that lean more to the left are way more sex positive than people on the right, and therefore they are way more open to expression in that respect. So believing that they're against, like, all form of sexualization is nonsense. Like I said, it's context. If you can make it have some kind of context, give it, whether it's through story or through characterization, it's perfectly fine. And, you know, it's fine to enjoy seeing those things in your game. You don't have to make it an issue or anything. Personally, I love sexy women in games. They just have to not be objectified about it. Exactly. That's it. Like, it's perfectly fine to include them. Like, there is no issue. This isn't the case of all or nothing. It is fully dependent on the context of it. And I will say, from what I've heard about Stellar Blade, they don't, like, make a big deal about Eve being presented the way she is. So it's not really a huge sin or anything. You don't get, like, male characters ogling her, or oogling, I can never remember. You don't get male characters, like, oogling her. You don't really tend to get much in the way of, like, gratuitous shots on, like, cutscenes or anything, from what I've heard at least. So yeah, like, it could have actually just flown under the radar, but people turned it into something. I'd say the most ludicrous thing about it is the fact that her character just has, like, weirdly floaty breast physics, like she's constantly in a swimming pool or something. But, you know, that's about it, really. I mean, you see stuff like that and you just wonder, like, have these people ever seen flesh move? Not even just boobs, but just flesh in general. Jiggly flesh. That's a sound clip right there. Only time I'll bother with the 1830s to bring back some outlandish and colourful men's fashion. Yeah, that's the funny thing. Like, even back then, like, they had way more flexibility and options for men compared to what we have now. Like, we're at, like, the point in history where it's, like, the most stale it's ever been for men's fashion. Patterned button downs from the men's section at Buffalo Exchange on 90% of my wardrobe. See, that's one of the more annoying things about moving to America, was that I had to leave pretty much most of my wardrobe behind, and I had years of, like, cool stuff that I found at, like, thrift shops, or just, like, one-off finds that I found at the shop, that I found in the store. But my process for moving stuff overseas was basically just stuffing whatever I could into a carry-on suitcase and my check-in suitcase. So I just took whatever clothes I could and told myself, oh, I'll, you know, fill in the blanks when I get to the US. I'll just go clothes shopping and see what I can get. And big mistake, because it was all shit. And I found out that my parents actually threw out the rest of my wardrobe after I moved here, so I can't even go back and salvage what I could from it, which really fucking sucks, because, like I said, it was thrift shop stuff. Like, can't get that again. And it really sucks, because I had, like, some really nice embroidered shirts. Like, I love embroidery, especially if it's, like, floral patterns. Can't find that shit anymore. Breaks my heart. And sandals, yeah, men in sandals, socks and sandals. In fact, those guys we were talking about earlier, Mr. Vagina Bones here, he probably wears socks with sandals. Sexy men are alright too, I guess, but the kind of men I think are hot are rarely in games, sadly. Yeah, and the thing, like, that's just because when it comes to men, there's, like, such a variety of what people consider attractive and everything. Whereas, like, women, because of media influences, there is a very typical type of woman that we think of when it comes to, like, a sexualized character, which basically usually means, you know, thin, ample bust, butt, and if we're being honest, white when it comes to like the standard that's been set by media. But yeah. I remember when everyone freaked out about the gay options in Mass Effect. Yeah, that's true. That was the thing. I remember actually reading a comment section during that time, and there was someone getting really upset saying that there should be a setting in the game to omit the gay options from it. Like, in fact, someone even suggested like to have a setting to remove a gay character completely because I don't want to see them. Grow the fuck up. Yeah, Will is really good. Will always gets a bit of... Will in Baldur's Gate 3 always gets shit from people from being like the goody two-shoes, but honestly I think is great. And he's a very interesting character with, you know, a good amount of pathos, and he isn't 100% goody two-shoes. He just understands like what it is, what sacrifices to be made to do something for a greater good. He's an interesting character. I have nothing against Will. I have no complaints against Will. Thoroughly enjoyed him. Pet peeve, boobs not migrating to the armpits when someone lies on their back. See that? Yeah, that is a thing that I have definitely noticed in games. But at the same time, you know, I understand that technical limitations can make something like that difficult to accomplish. So I guess I can let it slide. But yeah, it would be something that maybe should be taken into consideration. But since we're at the point in time where we have floaty underwater boobs, I'm guessing it's not high on the list for developers in the evolution of boob physics in video games. Meanwhile, I'm putting too much research into drawing boobs. I mean, I can think of time worse spent, to be honest with you. I think I'd also be into Halcyon if he was more of a bear in a gay way. Oh yeah, if you've played Baldur's Gate and you have your heart set on someone and you're not interested in Halcyon, which, you know, it's perfectly fine if you're not. Don't talk to Halcyon about his past relationships. I thought it would just be a fun bit of dialogue talking to him, like saying like, you know, oh, you know, you lived 300 years, surely you've had some dalliances in the past. He takes that as a way of saying that you're actually in love with him. He reads into it way too much. And then later on in the game, he ends up telling me like, I have to tell you something. I love you. And I was like, whoa, where the fuck is this coming from? And he says to you directly, well, you were asking about my past romances. Like, I took that as you saying you're interested. Like, for a 300-year-old guy, you are terrible at reading the room. What year did he move to the US? 2016. Same year Trump got elected, so that didn't feel bad at all. Yeah, awful timing. Mr. Vagina Bones is definitely a shoebie, without a doubt. Classic parent behavior, yeah. They threw it. I mean, I could get started on my parents' behavior after I moved here. To put it bluntly, they treated my departure as though I had died after I moved here. It wasn't like, oh, he's gone to another country, we'll hold on to some of his stuff, and, you know, if he visits us again, he might want to take it back. No. Everything must go. I liked collecting CDs and some vinyl as well. I had about over 400 CDs. Like, I was a big fan of, like, physical media. And all of those were sold through one of those shitty services where it's like, oh, you can sell us anything, all DVDs, all games, all Blu-rays, and we'll give you money for it. And you get like a pittance in return for it, like a few pence or cents. All of that gone. Like, just sent away. And like, they didn't give me the money for it either. It's just like, oh, we're going to sell them all. It's taking up space. My clothing, tossed out. my books. I think my books. I'm pretty sure like my books were gone. Because the thing is, since I've moved, they've also moved into a smaller house. So my childhood home is gone. Well, it's still there, but I can't live there, obviously. Books. If I like old childhood toys. What else? Yeah, video games as well. Like I had a bunch of video games, all gone, sold through that shitty service. But the worst, and this is probably, it might make you hate my parents. So I will say, don't hate them. They're just people who have a limited grasp of sentimentality. So it was two things, actually. One, so like I said, my parents moved house. They went from a old Victorian era house, which was like 3 floors. And I know that sounds super fancy, but my parents got it for a pittance. They got it in the 80s where housing was super cheap, and they got it for like, I think it was like 38 grand or something like that. So they got it for dirt cheap back then. Because, you know, my family isn't fancy or anything. Like, we're not wealthy or anything like that. Far from it. So, yeah, they decided that they wanted to downscale. You know, they're getting older now. You know, both my parents are in their 60s. My dad's pushing almost 70 now. So, they ended up deciding to move after I moved country. So they downscaled and moved into a bungalow instead, which, you know, is just 1 level as opposed to the 3. So when they moved, obviously they have far less space, given that they moved into a bungalow. And having seen their house now after I visited back in 2022, yes, it is much smaller. So that meant that they had to make some concessions. And they'd lived in that house for over 30 years. So, you know, it's a lot of stuff to accumulate over that time. So when it came to bringing stuff over, now, a bit more pretext to this, actually. So when I moved over, like, I tried to, like, sell off a bunch of stuff that I owned just so I can make a bit of money for moving country and everything. So, like, I sold off some guitars. I sold off an amplifier or 2. Like, you know, as you know, like, I'm big into guitars, and I had a few of them. So I had to sell them off, because obviously I couldn't take them with me. But I kept 1 guitar. I kept my very first Squier Stratocaster guitar, which I had modified the shit out of it with a red lace sensor, dual pickup. I had replaced the neck at one point. I'd made all sorts of modification, but it was the thing that got me started. The thing that I attached a great deal of sentimentality to. And I even told them directly, do not get rid of this guitar. You have to keep this with you. It wasn't even a playable state because I removed the tuners off it. So I needed to like fix it up again. Either way, I said, do not get rid of this. This means something to me. So I also had a drum kit as well. Because I also play drums, even though it's been a while since I played drums. I couldn't sell that in time because it's actually really hard to sell a drum kit, but it was a whole kit. Came with a crash cymbal, a ride cymbal, a hi-hat, a really nice pedal, all kinds of stuff. It was literally everything you need to get started on drums. Because if you buy a drum kit from the store, you just get the drums. You don't get anything else. You don't get cymbals or a stool or anything like that. It is just the drums. Whereas this, boom, everything you need. And it wasn't a bad kit too. So I told him, like, I've not been able to sell this drum kit in time. However, if you list it on eBay, here is literally all the information that you need for it. Like, I know you don't know shit about drums, but if you show this to a person who knows their drums, they will know what you're talking about, and they will be able to give you a decision there. List it in the classifieds, list it on Facebook, put it wherever, just put it out there, and I guarantee that for this price, and this was a kit that was worth like close to $2,000 as well. I said I'd sell it for $500. It is a bargain by all accounts. And, you know, like I said, that's including the cymbals and everything. And cymbals, drum cymbals, let me tell you, they are not cheap. A single crash cymbal can probably cost you about $250 for a bit of sheet metal that's been hammered into a shape or done so by a machine. Yeah, they're not cheap. So I put it all together and said, this is all you do. You know, you just list it wherever, take the sale, and I'll let you keep a portion of the sales too. You just have to send me the rest over like PayPal or something like that. So, and I'm sure you can tell where this is going now. After they moved house, they told me about the move. They told me, you know, how the new house is, what they're going to do with it, etc., etc. So I asked them, you know, once they're done explaining the stuff, I asked them, what happened to the drum kit? Did you manage to sell it? We just left it there. Left it in this already purchased house with a new owner, a new family. They just left an entire drum kit in the basement of that house without my permission, and they said that they simply didn't have space for it in their new place, which, as someone who has now been to that place, I call bullshit, because I went into the garage of the new place and there is plenty of space for it, and I was furious at them. I was a kind of angry where you don't say anything, like you cut yourself off. You're just like you just can't even bring yourself to shout at them or like just say anything back. I was like on a call, like I was on, you know, a video call with them, and as soon as they said that to me, I was just immediately like, hang up. It's like, I can't say a word to these people because I know that what will come out of my mouth will be something that I could very possibly regret. So I said nothing. And later on, I sent him a message about it. You know, told him I'm really disappointed. I even said to him, like, the way that you're treating my stuff is almost like I've died, and I really don't think that that shows much respect towards me. And then they tried to turn it back on me by saying it like, oh, you shouldn't say that we treat you like you died. Of course we don't think that you've died or anything. I was like, yeah, but it feels that way. But then it gets worse. So last year, or just over a year ago, I visited the UK, and like I said, I saw like my parents' house and everything. Nice new house, all that kind of stuff. Much less space, definitely. So I asked them, do you have my very first guitar? And my mother at first says, what guitar? And I said, the guitar that was hanging up on one of the walls for everyone to see, because I like hanging my guitars because it's actually better for the neck. In fact, tell you what, here we go right now. Even in this little apartment, I have my guitar hung up over there. So it was definitely a very visible guitar for everyone to see. It's not the kind of thing that you would just ignore when you're emptying the house and you're moving, you know? You would go past that shit. Oh, what do we do with this guitar? So, and bear in mind, you know, this is much longer after this drum debacle. So I asked him, you know, I said, like, where is it? What guitar? And once again, I just had one of those moments where I just clammed up. I was like, oh, you fucking didn't. And, yeah, just, oh, we must have left it. And, like I said, I have a great deal of sentiment towards that thing. Like, playing music is like a very, very important thing to me. Playing guitar is a very, very important thing to me, and that's the thing that got me started. And not kidding, like, as soon as she said that, just said that, oh, we must have left it there. As soon as she said that, I just cried on the spot. Like, I just couldn't process it. I just cried. I was like, I can't believe it. Like, this thing could be gone forever. Because this new family that moved there, they could have just said, what the fuck is this? And tossed it out. And it could just be gone. And I don't like thinking of something like that. So yeah, I called him out on it again. Like, how could you do that? Like, that was something really important to me. I was like, well, we thought that you left it behind because it wasn't that big of a deal. I was like, oh my fucking god. Why couldn't you even just assume that it's important to me? Why would you assume the opposite? Like, I'm moving to another country, I can't take everything with me. Like, do you know how much it costs to get like extra shipping on things, to get freight so you can pay, or freight, for everything that you could possibly bring over? That shit's expensive. I didn't have the money for that. Yeah, why wouldn't they ask? Why wouldn't they ask? You know, simple as that. They didn't ask about selling off my games, off my music, or throwing away or handing in my clothing to a Goodwill, whatever it might be. And, you know, the guitar and the drums especially. The drums had sort of a good turnaround. The drums had sort of a good ending, because I got in touch with my cousin. My cousin's a great guy. I got in touch with him because at that point I was just fucking done with them. It's like, I'm not asking them to do anything. There's no point in asking them to go and pick up the kit and go sell it for me. Absolutely no point whatsoever. So I called on my cousin, and so like, I explained the whole situation, you know, told them they just left it behind. I'm pretty sure whoever moved there, they'll still have the kit. Could you please just go pick it up from there? I just don't want to know that it's still in their house, or I don't want it just to sit there in their house. And then I asked him, you know, if he could sell it, gave him all the details. He found a buyer like right away from it. He found a buyer that was like from a Pink Floyd cover band. I even gave him a bit of a discount. I gave my cousin a cut of the earnings as well. All good. But the guitar, who fucking knows? Like, I'll probably try and get in touch with them one day, but apparently the people that moved into our old house are a bunch of arseholes, so who fucking knows? But yeah, good God, that was just... Let's just say it was stuff that I brought up in a couple of therapy sessions. Let's put it that way. And rightfully so. And my therapist had a very similar reaction to the way that you all have had right now of, my God, why would they do that? This is awful. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to go have a very quick break. I know we had a weird thing with the maintenance guy coming in earlier, but God, do I need to pee right now. But yeah, I'll be back in about 3 minutes or so. If any of you wants to post a question of the day or something, because I don't have one prepared, feel free to, and I will pin it in the chat and everything. But yeah, give me about 3 minutes or so. I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back. Done some breathing. You know, I didn't realize prior to writing the description for this stream, that reminiscing meant bringing up traumas. But here we are. So, favorite filling in a baked good. Yeah, I've got to go with what other people say and say apple. Apple pie, apple turnovers, apple crumble, apple crisp. It just works wonders. Lemon's good too. Like lemon meringue, for example, is wonderful. And peach can be nice too. Same with the berries. Like raspberries are really good filling. But yeah, apple, I'm a sucker for, especially when mixed in with like cinnamon, nutmeg, etc. It's really great. In fact, my next baking stream will be me baking apple crumble, which is a classic British dessert of like a nice apple pie style layer at the bottom of it, and then on top of that is kind of like crumbled up cookies, like sort of in a breadcrumb texture. It's really wonderful. Then you pour some custard over it. I'll be making the custard from a mix as opposed to making it from scratch. Maybe I might give it a shot. But yeah, the custard is really good regardless. My wife only recently tried custard for the first time. It's a very popular thing to have with desserts in the UK. Hot custard, not frozen stuff. Poured over something, whether it's like a apple crumble or a sticky toffee pudding or a spotted dick. It's very nice on those things. I'm not a huge fan of custard myself, but yeah, it's lovely. According to the people who really like it, it's great. And despite his name, Spotted Dick is actually very nice. Let's see, I've lost track of chat. I'm unhealthily codependent with my mom, so I'm working on doing things without looping her in. Yeah, it's, you know, people in those kinds of positions, it's difficult to break that habit with them. You know, it's something that, like, you kind of have to fall back on them sometimes. But, you know, there's an emotional aspect to it as well. You feel like, you know, you might owe something to them, or it might be something that's important to them, especially when there's someone that's so involved in your life. And there might be, you know, some kind of thing from a parent of, like, trying to avoid the overwhelming feeling of, like, empty nest syndrome in those respects, I think. Like my mother, for example. My wife, for example, is very connected with her parents. Like, she will loop them in on everything too. But yeah, that's just because, I mean, my wife, she's an only child, so understandably she's gonna have that more connected experience than someone like I would have, who is the youngest of 3 children, and parents who weren't big on hugging. So yeah, add that to the tapestry. Mine just goes, I know when I finally came out to her, then hung up. She was not invited to the wedding. Oh my god. She won't be invited to the divorce party either, because sadly that's happening. Oh, that's a shame. Well, you know, don't be ashamed of divorce or anything. Like, yeah, it's the end of something, but there's way too much stigma on divorce, I think, in general. Like, divorce is a healthy option, I think. You know, there's lots of people out there that see it as, like, some kind of, like, awful thing. But honestly, it's 2 people in a relationship that have figured something out. And that's a great thing to be able to do. Better than, you know, sticking it out just because getting a divorce feels like it's some kind of failure or something. Finally got back on ADHD meds after she demanded to talk to my psych for the first time I got them. Tried to hide them, but that didn't do it well enough. Easier now that I'm out of the house. Yeah, funny thing is, another thing with my parents, I remember when I visited there last time, I told my mother I was diagnosed with ADHD, and, you know, I was diagnosed as an adult. It was one of those things that just went under the radar for, like, my whole life up until then. And she was basically just like, no, you don't have it. It's just, you know, it's the American healthcare system trying to get you to buy more drugs and everything. I was like, no, that is absolutely not the case. My psychiatrist who speaks to me, I fully trust her. She's great. She's not just trying to get me on medication, and I find that a little bit insulting that you think that I would go along with something like that. And also, as someone who has tried medications for ADHD now, yes, I have ADHD because those medications work very well as soon as I take them. Plus, my mother's also kind of weird about, like, just medications in general. She's not weirdly conspiracy driven or anything like that, but she is always of the mindset of, like she'd prefer to go for the herbal alternative of stuff. Which, you know, herbal medicines do have their merits, absolutely. Like, you know, myself, for example, I always say if you have stomach troubles, peppermint tea is a great thing for it. And that's true, because peppermint is great for your digestion. But, you know, she'd be the same kind of person who just, like, if she gets headaches or something, she'll just take some fucking herbal stuff that just doesn't do anything about it, just because a friend told her that it works. And yeah, it's just like, just take an ibuprofen, you know, it's perfectly fine. My washing machine is taking ages. I'd like to have pants someday. I have had laundry in our tumble dryer. It's its 3rd day of sitting in there now. I really need to get it out there. I need to, like, run it for 30 minutes on medium heat just to get those creases out. I've been so lazy in that respect. You just don't feel like, you know, folding clothes. Why haven't they come up with something better for folding clothes at this point? Why is folding clothes so terrible still? Someone needs to invent something immediately. They need to invent a tumble dryer that can dry your clothes and then immediately fold it all up. This is it. Lift it up out of the machine. Put it away, you know. A boy can dream, though. Freudian slip much. Yes, thank you for pointing that out, Bertie. It's what I was thinking, but I didn't want to say it. Pretend I'm screaming about my parental issues now, but they're really hard to talk about. They can be difficult, yeah. I mean, in the past, like, I was way more reluctant to talk about my parental issues, but my approach towards, like, things like that and issues, well, I think my approach to issues now is that I don't know, it's better to be open and honest with them, I think. Like, and it helps because, like, when you have people who hear these things and identify that they have those similarities, it makes you feel less alone about stuff, you know? Obviously, you know, a lot of other issues can be, like, probably a bit too dark to talk about in public, but with stuff like mine, you know, just hearing other people understand the experience, I find it reassuring that, you know, there are other people that have been in my shoes. Maybe not exactly my shoes, but, you know, that kind of mentality that their parents have. I was mad when Apple Crumble lost the poll by 1 vote, and that's why I chose to still make it, just because, you know, I really love Apple Crumble. It's pretty easy to make, and yeah, there's not too much waiting around. Only thing you really have to wait for is for it to cool down, just because when you bake apples, it makes it extremely hot at first. You know, that's why the McDonald's apple pie will just burn your tongue straight off if you just bite into it too soon. God, it's been years since I've had one of those. I used to really like them as a kid. Yeah, lemon is a great one as well. Lemon cake, lemon drizzle cake, lemon meringue pie, lemon bars, like, it really is great. I do love a good lemon meringue pie. I've made a few lemon meringue pies. Let me see if I can pull it up. I have it stored in my Google Photos somewhere. When was the last time I made one? Oh, there we go. Yeah, this is the last lemon meringue pie that I made. I overdid the crust a little bit. It wasn't bad, it didn't taste burnt. But this was the first time that I got a chef's torch. Like, I was gifted one for my birthday, so I was able to get that nice browning on the top. You can get something similar if you put it in the oven with the broiler on, but it doesn't do it as evenly, and it can make the top a little bit too crispy. But yeah, I got the chef's torch. In fact, if you remember that fateful day when I did the Halloween cheesecake brownie stream, that was the very same chef torch that I used to immolate the paper that was on the sides of that. But that's it used properly. But yeah, it was wonderful. I want to make it again now. So good. In another life, I'm very happy doing some kind of repetitive manual labor. To be honest, when it comes to, like, job stuff, I have always kind of wished that I could just be of the persuasion where I'm okay doing the same shit over and over again, just so I have something stable, routine-wise. But yeah, I get bored with things way too quickly. I mean, that's why you get videos from me that are so drastically different in subject matter. I really don't like sticking with something for too long, especially if it feels like I'm really trying to mine for content. Just like, well, this was popular, so I need to keep talking about this. So therefore, I need to figure out something I can talk about. And in those situations, that's where, like, I feel less invested. So I just move on to something which is, like, I don't know, interesting at the time, at least. So undeniably, it has led to a lack of cohesion in content theme on my channel. But I'd much rather be talking about the things I find interesting than trying to cater to the algorithm. I only dislike folding because working retail, but I'm quite good at it actually. I was a house spouse for 3 years, so very good at folding. I've never heard the term house spouse before, but I do like that one. But yeah, I'd say the main thing that I'm really good at, like household chore thing that I'm really good at, that most people struggle with, is changing bed sheets. Reason why is because, as many of you know, I used to work in an IKEA. I worked in the bedrooms department, and that meant that I had to do a lot of changing sheets. Usually it was at least once a week that we had to go through it, and we couldn't always do it as a pair or anything. It was just one of us changing sheets. So I learned how to put the mattress cover on very quickly, very efficiently. I learned how to change a duvet cover, which is possibly the thing that people struggle the most with. One-handed too. I could do like a whole king size one, something that was 180 centimeters wide, and put the pillows in the cases very quickly too. So yeah, I can do that perfectly fine on my own and very quickly as well. I'm kind of proud of it, not bragging, bit proud. Like, I had a thing happen recently that I really, really wish I could have talked to my mom about, but now she's not talking to me. Well, give it a bit of time, and when that moment comes, I find, if you have like that time to think about it and word it in a way that, feels, I guess, like more approachable, more, less argumentative, that time can help, because, it's time for your mother to process it as well. So even though the time has passed, it's still worth bringing up, I think. Because, for example, with my parents, because of various circumstances, I basically just like faded into the background as I was growing up. Like, my sister and my brother were both a pair of shits. Like, they would act out all the time. There's various reasons behind it, like mental illness reasons behind it, especially with my sister. But yeah, it made it so that like their chaos always eclipsed anything that I was doing. So I just kind of like, became part of the furniture really, and I was just kind of forgotten about, just left to my own devices. So, at one point, this was something like I'd spoken about in therapy. Talked about like how it affected me now. Talked about like how it's pushed me in directions in which I feel like I need to compel people to give me attention and validation, which, here I am right now talking to an audience of people on YouTube while I post videos and farm for comments. There's a truth to it. But at the same time, because of that lack of validation from my parents, it's put me in a position where I find it hard to internalize validation properly. So when I'm offered praise or anything like that, it doesn't stick as well as it should do. So I ended up like bringing that up with my parents at one point. I just told them straight up that I felt like I didn't matter as I was growing up, that I wasn't given enough praise, that I wasn't seen often enough, that I wasn't given like much in the way of comfort. I was just, people were just like, oh, he's fine, he's doing fine, he's not getting in trouble, so everything must be fine. Which, yeah, I didn't get into trouble a lot growing up, but that doesn't mean that I was doing fine. So I ended up bringing that up with my parents at one point, and I told them, like, I know that things are different now, like, I'm an adult, what's done is done. But this is what I want you to know that you did wrong, even though it wasn't intentional. And at first my parents rejected it. Like, they just said, we tried our best with you, we had so much going on. And then they used the old excuse of, and my mother likes bringing this out in particular, where she would say, we tried our best with you. We made sure that you had a roof over your head. We made sure that you were fed, that you were clothed. And I was like, yeah, but like that's bare minimum stuff when it comes to having a child. Like, that's the stuff that you are supposed to do regardless. Like, that's like the kind of stuff you do with a pet, minus the clothed thing, unless you do want to clothe your pets, which, you know, is fine, it's fun. But yeah, just like, that's bare minimum. Like, there's emotional side of things too, and this is what I'm saying to you was lacking in that respect. And, you know, like I said, they rejected it at first, but after a bit of time and after a bit more introspection and talking about it, they finally accepted that yes, this is something that was absent, something that was important, that was absent from my upbringing, and they apologized for it, which is great to see him recognize that. So yeah, I'm a firm believer in thinking in, you know, the idea of, even though there are some things that are difficult to talk about with your parents, there's always time to bring it up. Not even just your parents, you know, loved ones, etc. You should always bring it up regardless, because you got to get it off your chest at the very least. I understand how that feels, Birdie. My first thing it was directed at someone else. My mistake. I try not to read out comments that are directed to other people, just because I feel like I'm intervening on a conversation. That pie is gorgeous. Thank you very much. Yes, it was a lovely thing. Here it is again. Ugh. Yeah, I made it because my wife's godparents, they are big fans of lemon meringue pie, especially her godfather. So yeah, every now and then when we go pay a visit to them, I'll make one. Although one day I should just make it for ourselves, just because it really is that good. It's so relatable. I'm not feeling great about that. I'm sorry about that. I'll try and move away from that now. We can move on to something else. That's perfectly fine. Yeah, I don't want to trigger or anything like that. But like I said, this is part of the reason why, like, I am open about this stuff. Just because even though it doesn't feel great to some people, it is somewhat nice to know that it's not a unique thing. Because as I was growing up, as I was an angry young male growing up, it was always a case where I felt like my pain was completely unique and no one could understand it. And that's just because I didn't talk about it often enough. Bed sheets are tricky but satisfying to get right. I'm very short, so it's always a lot of trouble. See, if you're short, the trick is to the whipping. If you're trying to get like a duvet filling a sheet or something like that. Bed sheets, you start at the top, put it over the one corner, and you get it really tucked in there. Then you drag it to the other side as hard as you can, and then tuck it in there. Once you got that, you got the bottom part, easy peasy. I mean, if she doesn't pick up the phone when I call, that really doesn't matter. Understandable, but you know, give it time. These things will pass. People, unless someone is truly, I mean, there are people out there that are truly petty and they just won't let things pass. In that case, I think it's better just to like sort of accept it, as much as it sucks. But, you know, parents, I think most of them will be amenable over time to mending bridges. Hard to say, but, you know, that's what I believe anyway. I've certainly fell out with my parents to the point where I just like don't really talk to them anymore. But, you know, I guess they figured out life's too short. We've had so much shit happen in our family that despite our differences and despite our quarrels, we ultimately accept that, you know, it's best not to live with these things. Do I admit I co-founded a socialist club in order to... Wait, 1 second. I get why diversity statements are important for job applications, but they're so hard to write. do I admit I co-founded a socialist club in order to fully answer this question, which is less likely to lose me this job having a shitty answer here, or I'm admitting I'm a communist? If it's in California, then I think it's alright to go for it. But, you know, it is one of those things where you never know. America's a weird place. You have loads of people out there that as soon as they hear the word communist, socialist, leftist, etc., you just get them running for the hills. Especially if it's a boomer. Jesus Christ. Boy, do they have their opinions on that. The product of being brought up in the Cold War, I guess. I haven't had a good lemon meringue in a while, but then I remembered I don't want to eat an entire pie, just a slice. I mean, this is the unfortunate thing about having baking as a hobby and not having a very wide circle of friends or family here. We often end up with a lot of baked goods that are left over. And unfortunately, my mother-in-law has had to have some pretty serious dietary changes. So now she's off the cards or off the table when it comes to handing things over. So yeah, I often end up with stuff in abundance. But you know, you can always just put it inside the freezer, return to it at a later date. Oh, that YouTube widget just blew up there. Thought it was a bot for a moment. On the bright side, no one can tell you that you fell off because you have variety. I mean, one could argue that that is possibly a case, that varying things up put people off. Because, yeah, there are people out there that see, like, you doing one other topic. Like, you know, one moment I could be talking about more politically serious issues. And then next, like, I'm doing a video on, like, video games. But in my eyes, there is a connection to all these things. Because even in videos related to something like games, there is a political through line. And much of what I talk about is to do, like, the perils of capitalism. And that exists throughout my entire work, I believe. So, you know, my hope would be that someone can get something out of something I made, regardless of whether they are interested in the subject or not. Let me put it this way. Like, if someone like H-Bomber Guy can, like, do a video on climate change, and then within the space of a year release a video about Ruby, the anime series, or Fallout New Vegas, and still get millions of views on each one, why can't I do that? It's weird, like, you just don't get concessions really as a smaller channel. You're expected to do what's expected of you, but when you're a huge channel, it's just like, do whatever you want, I'll watch it. And this isn't me dissing H-Bomber Guy. H-Bomber Guy is great, he makes some incredible content, but you know, it would be nice to be granted that bit of leeway by people. But yeah, smaller channels, people are way more strict on them. Big channels, you can do what the fuck you want and people will watch it. My mother has changed a lot for the better. I really do wish that she would apologize for all the awfulness during my upbringing. I haven't been able to bring myself to do what you did and bring it up. I think you can get there someday, you know. It does take time. It took a lot of time for me because, you know, it's not really easy to go up to someone and tell them the things that they've done wrong, and it's especially harder to do so when it's something that can't really be corrected anymore. It can only just be acknowledged. And I will say, from my own experiences, having it acknowledged is nice, but it's not a fix. Like, you know, it was great that my parents acknowledged that, but it's not something that undoes the damage that's being caused by it. But it is nice to know that the people out there who have caused you some of the most major grievances in your life do see their faults. Because it's far worse to have that person continue in life thinking that they did everything right, that by doing the bare minimum, i.e. keeping you alive, was enough. Parenting is way more complex than that. And it gets especially a bit sore for me because, like, due to various circumstances, my parents ended up taking guardianship of my nephew, whom, you know, I was there when he was born. I've seen him grow, and I've seen the way that they parented him, and they did a much better job of applying parental skills to him, offering emotional support, etc. I got to see what it could have been like for me, and you know, while I'm very happy for him, like, he's a great kid, and he deserves all that stuff. There is that part of me that looks at it and thinks, like, I wish I had that. So seeing that they are actually capable of doing that, it was a bit of a sore spot too. I didn't feel jealous of him or anything, but at the same time, I was like, you know, I would have liked to have had that. And knowing that they can do it made it suck a little bit, you know? I'm so thankful for the freezer. Mine always has cookie dough, brownies, etc. Funny you say that, because I actually have cookie dough inside mine right now. In fact, it was the cookie dough. If you remember the stream where I made the sugar cookies, I did a here's one I made earlier thing. The one that I made at the beginning of the stream is still inside the freezer. I need to make them. They're really good. It's just nice to have cookies around, you know? San Francisco is a lovely city, though. Just visited my brother there in March. I wouldn't mind paying a visit there, even though it is apparently insanely expensive. It's like second most expensive place to live in the US, New York being the number one. So I'm just trying to catch up with the messages. Bear with me. Big channels have insane cults of parasociality. Pfft, yeah, no kidding. Big channels, big streamers, all that kind of stuff. Like, you can get away with that level of parasociality, or whatever it might be called. You're the academics, so I'll trust you there. Yeah, like, within the world of influencers, it is an interesting thing that occurs where it's like, the bigger you are, the harder it is for you to be hated by people, unless you do something truly abhorrent. But even then, like, there are streamers out there that have done truly fucking awful things, or said awful things, and still have a substantial following who are willing to excuse them. And a big reason behind that is just because people attach so much of their identity to them. And if that is attacked or accused or brought into question, they take it as a very personal thing. And, you know, I've witnessed that firsthand when it came to my Debate Bros video. Like, people took that very, very personally. And the irony is that in that video, I even included a thing saying that if this video makes you angry, then I think you need to take a step back and ask yourself why that made you angry, and consider that you potentially have an unhealthy relationship with a person who doesn't know you exist. And what do you get after that? I get 20 patrons that drop their pledge and make it very clear that that was a reason why. A shitload of unsubscribes. Yeah, not pleasant. Now that's something I don't fancy revisiting, that's for sure. Your nephew's going through what we're having to do with my daughter to get her away from her stepmom. Yeah, it was... With that stuff, I won't get into too much details just because it's one hell of a history. But, yeah, he, it's great to see that my nephew turned out so well, because, like, it could have gone horribly wrong for him. my parents taking over as guardians for him was definitely the right move. Yeah, my sister was just not equipped to raise a child, without a shadow of a doubt. The numbers shifted. I'm waiting for the market crash so I can get a house. Pfft, yeah, me too. We've been trying to get a house for age. We've actually stopped giving up looking for. We've actually given up on looking for the time being, just because the mortgage rates are absolutely absurd right now. Kind of wish we got one during the pandemic, because the mortgage rate was so low at that point. But we didn't really see anything that we truly liked. And it was such a seller's market at the time that if you wanted to put a bid in for a house, like, you'd really have to push up the offer for it like 20, 30 grand above asking, which, you know, at that point we absolutely couldn't afford it. Completely random question. Does that nihilism video still get views regularly? No, not really. I mean, as comparisons go, it wasn't super popular. But yeah, I'd probably say it gets about as many views as like the rest of the catalog, and that's just maybe like 100 a week, something like that. Back catalogs are weird though. Sometimes you'll get ones that just like consistently bring in a decent amount, and then you'll get ones that get like 10 views in a week, even though in the past they got like 300,000 views or something. Cookies are love in snack form. Cookies are amazing. Yeah, cookies, always wonderful. I have a soft spot for cookies, I will say that. It's the one thing I can go to bake if I just feel like I want to make something and not be overly invested. Like some nice chocolate chip cookies. New York is pretty expensive, but my brother pays more for his place in San Francisco than I ever did in New York, to be honest. How big is the space in San Francisco, out of curiosity? Because I think, like, it was a while ago that I read it, but I think it said, like, for a 1,000 square foot apartment there, it was, like, averaged about 3,000-ish a month, something like that. Which, you know, is absurd. Okay, yeah, my wife said that 10 to 20 views a day, maybe a little more right now. And that's probably just because I've released a video not too long ago. But yeah. Just asking because apparently YouTube is where my Patreon gets the most traffic. Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad people are watching that because... Or I'm glad people watch that section because I think I've mentioned it before, but one of the shittiest things about having to give up on the boost bus was the fact that I noticed that it was fucking with my retention because people felt that it was worthwhile to completely skip the boost bus, you know, creators who are in need of exposure, and just, yeah, completely skip that part of the video, which messed with my retention and, you know, robbed people of something that they could have really done with. So cheers to those people that skip those parts of the video. Yeah, the boost bus, I really hate that I had to drop the boost bus for the time being, at the very least. My rule of thumb is that if I can get 3 videos in a row with 6-figure views, then I would like to bring back the boost bus at that point. Just because boosting other creators is genuinely important to me, and the reason why I retired it was because since my views started to lag, I didn't want to put creators in a place where I put them in a video and it turns out the video didn't do very well. I would like to maximize their exposure, and I felt that by putting creators in there and promoting them in a video that didn't do too well was just kind of taking away something that they deserve more of. So yeah, I didn't want to stop it, but I wanted to give them a fair shake at the very least, because I heard from some people saying like, yeah, thank you for including me in the boost bus. Unfortunately, I didn't get much in return from it. And don't get me wrong, like, you know, I had no expectation that including them in my video would like turn around people's fortunes or anything like that, but I wanted to give them at least something. So once things can hopefully gets stabilized again, I can start including it. And believe me, when I bring back the boost bus, I will put a thing in that first boost bus return calling those people the fuck out, because that's not okay. It's not like it's an ad for Raid Shadow Legends. It's someone out there that needs help. Give them a bit of time, you know? Sorry, it's bullshit. Like, it pissed me off when I saw that. Because, you know, on YouTube videos you can see, you know, those little bumps where people put in the repeat, where people repeat certain parts or skip certain parts. Like, I looked at like all of the videos to see if there was like any kind of trend, and every single video where there was a boost bus, there was always that bump showing that someone skipped to that part. And at that point I was like, wow, fuck you for doing that. Like, someone needs help, don't do that. So yeah, it will return once I am able to, when/if I'm able to maintain that level of stability again. But YouTube is YouTube, it's fucked. Like, you're very lucky if you're on YouTube and you have some level of proper stability on this platform. And also, it's great for your mental health. New York is pretty expensive, but my brother... Oh, I just realized I've read that. Pardon me. Yeah, like somehow Logan Paul still makes YouTube videos. I don't understand how people like that have followings. I think it's like kids, tweens that love that stuff just because they're like seeing someone who's like an adult but lives their life kind of like what a teenager would if they had money. But I can also very confidently say that, you know, if I was a tween in this day and age, I wouldn't be watching that shit. I would be watching Dragon Ball all day long. That's what I would be doing. Because Dragon Ball's fucking awesome, that's why. Absolutely, vis-a-vis huge channels. I'd have things I'd say about a lot of people that I imagine even people in here would not like me to say. I mean, yeah, I won't lie, I do hold back some of my opinions on it, and, you know, none of it is out of bitterness or anything like that, but, you know, when it comes to parasocial relationship, influences and all that kind of stuff, there is a lot of stuff that is left unsaid. And, you know, stuff that might be uncomfortable just to deal with. And I just don't want to, like, put people off, I guess. That Debate Bro video really taught me a lesson about being careful about what you say, because there are people out there, even like long-term patrons who have supported you for like 2 years plus, who will drop you like hot shit if you just say something that they disagree with. And, you know, this is a game where you need support from people. He started on Vine, he brought the following and just kept growing. Lucky him, to be honest with you. Like, changing platforms is, you know, it's a difficult thing. But, you know, it's a different field. Like, that is, when you're someone like Logan Paul, or if you're someone that makes that kind of content, you know, like your Mr. Beasts of the world and that kind of thing, like, that's just like, it's so broadly appealing to people that it's pretty much guaranteed some level of success. And of course, there are loads of YouTubers or wannabe YouTubers on a platform that are trying to pump out stuff like that segment of YouTube, who are just, if we're being real, they're never going to succeed. But yeah, it's always been a bizarre thing to me, just because I don't see the appeal of it. It's like certain types of music, like some things appeal, some things don't, and you just eventually accept that it has no level of appeal for you. I think my chat may have crashed. 1 second. Oh yeah, there's a bunch of messages here. I was looking. I have two chats open, one on my OBS and one on my side here, but yeah, it looks like it crashed. Now I really have to catch up. We all have family stuff like this. Oh yeah, everyone has stuff going on. Even the healthiest looking families have some bullshit going on. Even if it's just like a wayward uncle, there's always something underneath that surface. I'm actually a good parent, but in typical indigenous historic fashion, my child was scooped and I was pushed aside. It's tough, but I continue to fight to have her be happy, a happy person as an adult. And you know, that's all you got to try and do, really. Just make sure that your child is happy. Not just alive, not just comfortable, but, you know, happy. Make sure they're happy and be happy for them as well, regardless of their choices in life. But, you know, if they do try and do some stuff which is dubious, then of course, maybe step in there. As easy as it is to say that. Looks like no, I meant to ask quite a while ago, though, and Patreon won't show anything past the 30 days. Oh yeah, Patreon. Oh, sorry, you're saying that's a D-Salari. It's weird, because whenever you tag D-Salari, it shows up weird for me. Now, let me really quickly show it for you. Yeah, see where Birdie spoke here? Like, it shows up, YouTube thinks that it's talking to me, but you accidentally put a D in front of my name. So it's weird, and I misread it all the time when you tag in D-Salari. But anyway. Not gonna lie, I'm so appreciative of the boost I've gotten thanks to modding for Star. It's so helpful. Yeah, stuff like that, getting involved with other people's communities can make a big difference too. Them directly shouting you out, telling people to go see them. Stuff like that works, you know? Even things like raiding other channels. Like, you know, Star, she did a raid on my first stream here, and it brought in quite a few people who didn't know who the hell I was before, and you know, now they enjoy this, I hope. My brother makes 6 figures, so he can afford to live there like that. I make 16k a year as a PhD student, so it's incredible to me. And that's the thing, if you live in areas like San Francisco or even like tech areas, the funny thing is about living in those areas that you can be in like 6 figures and still be considered just like earning a basic salary, which is just a bizarre thought to me. I mean, I get why it is, but just like the concept of it is so unusual in that respect. Oh yeah, I was gonna bring up the next video. When we talk, let me drink. Okay, next video, yeah. So it's sort of in the same field as the last one. And I mean sort of. So yeah, next video, what we are going to be talking about is something that's actually been on my mind for quite a while. And something that I've had like with conversations with friends, family, etc. And how do I phrase it? I kind of want to talk about like how culture... well, not culture, how media, whether that is music, movies, TV shows, has become disposable in nature. What I mean by this is like, if you consider how things were in the past. So say, for example, you had mega artists like Elvis Presley, the Beatles, David Bowie, Pink Floyd, etc. Like artists that will be listened to in like 50 years and beyond from now. Artists that will be brought up as in conversations as legends who have had a profound impact on the music industry and culture as a whole. When we look at that and we look at what we have now, I always had this thought that we will never have another person like those people again. Like, I do not believe that there will be like another David Bowie, for example. Like, David Bowie was a prolific songwriter and musician, like very, very important as the landscape of music and even culture goes. So in that respect, I wonder like why that isn't the case. Like, is it us admitting that we have reached our limits of what music is able to produce and what innovations can be made? Or is it just some other condition that has created that situation? Like, and I do genuinely believe that the nature of how we consume media, whether that is through streaming music services or, you know, streaming TV services like Netflix, etc., has really made these like conditions in which we simply cannot consume and talk about media products the way that we used to. So, for example, when it comes to music, like, you know, we'll use David Bowie as an artist because I bring up David Bowie at the beginning of this. I'm a huge fan of David Bowie. He is my all-time favorite singer-songwriter. He was a brilliant man who innovated numerous genres throughout his 69 years of life. Truly a remarkable person. And his impact on music cannot be measured in any way. So when we look at like how David Bowie became popular, it was during a time where, one, we didn't have as many recording artists in the industry, and two, it was the way that we consume music was drastically different. You know, music would all be purchased or listened to on the radio. It wouldn't be available to us on tap like music is today. So as conversations and as presence was back then, it would be the case that basically there'd be less competition for it. But the way that our discussions worked around that time were far more focused compared to what they are now. So what we have today and why artists aren't becoming as notable or as long-lasting as they were in the past is because, one, we have the streaming services. We have like your Spotify and whatnot. And there is like every song ever made on Spotify. I mean, obviously not, I'm being a bit hyperbolic there, but you know, there is millions of songs available on these platforms. And that creates the conditions in which you can't really stay on something long enough for it to have a meaningful impact for you. Now, obviously, this differs from person to person. You know, there are people out there that listen to Spotify and they just like stick to certain artists, and they create a strong connection with them. And, you know, that's perfect. That happens all the time still. But what that means is like a broader cultural impact. It doesn't really mean anything, because the market is too competitive and the market moves too quickly, and that momentum is something that is encouraged by algorithms, whether that is through the streaming services themselves or through broader social media conversations. So 1 minute you can have people going absolutely crazy over a new artist on Twitter or wherever, on TikTok. TikTok's a big one, by the way. But you can have people going crazy about them. And one thing, you can have people posting TikTok videos where they're all including this particular song with the video, and the next minute, like 2 weeks later, don't hear them again. Like, you just get whatever artist, whatever flavor of the week is appearing at that time. It's that movement, that constant flow of artists, of listen to In Excess, not the band In Excess, listen to them in excess, and then wait for the next thing to come along, wait for the new conversation, be a part of that conversation so that you can feel something, that you can feel a sense of belonging, and then we move on. And that's it. We'll just keep repeating that ad nauseum. So as a result of that, our music and the rest of our media has kind of fallen into that same pratfall of just consume and move on. Consume and move on. You know, big streaming show comes out. Everyone's watching it. Everyone watches it. Give it a week. Move on. We're not talking about that anymore. We're talking about this one. This is the best show I've ever watched. This is the greatest show I've ever seen. Oh my God. Can you believe this happened in this show? You know, it's unbelievable how they can make something this good. Week later, oh my God, have you seen this show instead? So good. Oh, can we talk about this other show a little bit more? No, don't worry about it. We're not talking about that anymore. Do you see where I'm coming from? And yeah, and you know, I'm not saying things were better back in the day or anything like that. It just is what it is now. But at the same time, there is also a side effect with these things. One is that as cultural identities go, in us being able to create a, what's the word for it? As an audience, as being able to like leave a mark in a cultural landscape at that point in time, in that year or decade or whatever it might be, it becomes harder to do so, because usually we define our eras through people that produce media, through artists, whatever it might be. But we're not able to do that anymore. It just becomes an amalgam of different songs or movies or whatever it might be. There is no answer to it. And that is sad, I think, you know? Like, different eras. There's Camus right there. Psst. Different eras can be defined by their artists. What could the 2010s be defined by? What could the 2020s be defined by? I don't know. I guess, like, TV-wise, you could say Game of Thrones until that shit the bed. And movie-wise, Marvel. Will we be talking about these things in 50 years' time? I don't think so. So yeah, that's the kind of thing I want to approach with it. I'm going to try and keep it a shorter video, 20, 25 minutes. But we'll see. I say that a lot, and I fail at that a lot. Camus. Let's see if we can get him over here. Anime in a nutshell. Yeah, anime is a very similar thing. There's so much anime being produced that no one can stick to a particular topic. And nothing becomes a classic in that respect. Tell you what, let me see if I can get him. 1 second. I know you don't like this. Here we go. Hello. These people helped you get better. He looks annoyed. You're right. I know you're annoyed right now. But you help him with engagement. Alright, I'll let you down. Say bye to the people. Bye-bye. Go on. He is not graceful when he gets down. He's annoyed but healthy. He is healthy. Yeah, he's doing much. He's pretty much 100% again. Only thing he's been dealing with recently is he's had quite a bit of asthma flare-ups, like quite a bit of phlegm that he's been trying to cough out. Just, you know, like I said, he's got asthma, and that's just because like the change in the weather and you know, pollen count and whatnot. But he'll get over it. We've been giving him an extra dose of his inhaler. But the issue that he was dealing with was cleared up now, thankfully. So yeah, we're quite worried about him. This is the bane of my existence as someone who's constantly behind on literally everything. Yeah, and yeah, it sucks that like algorithms are basically dictating what people watch. It's because I generally end up feeling like an outlier in the kind of content that I consume, because it's like, it's not necessarily the stuff that everyone's talking about. Like recently, I've been watching the show Shogun, which is amazing, by the way, and you should absolutely watch it. And it should be something that people will be talking about in years' times, but it won't be. But yeah, like, I don't see anyone talking about it. I've seen one person in the Discord mention that they watched it recently, and that's it. Same thing with what was it? I guess same thing with Severance too. Dylan Reed Miller here. I introduced Dylan to Severance. It's now one of their favorite shows. I think, yeah, you wrote up like academic stuff on it and did a presentation about it too. Oh, there we go. Someone watched Shogun. Yes. Glad that you watched it. And Severance. Okay, well, you're kind of going against my point here about me being an outlier. But yeah, Severance is incredible. Absolutely, yeah. And Dylan published a paper about it too. If you haven't watched Severance, go watch it. The first season is perfect television. I'm not kidding there. It is immaculate. It's so fucking good. Like, I cannot praise Severance enough. Season 2 has wrapped filming recently. I really hope that it's not bad, because it's kind of been in production hell for almost 2 years now. But yeah, watch that. Watch Shogun. The Wire as well. Wire is my all-time favorite show. It'll always be my favorite. But like, if I went into my Discord right now and said like, hey, who's watched The Wire? Most people will say no. And I know about this, about my audience at large. Like, I know if I made a video about The Wire, my audience probably won't care, just because it's like, oh, who's watched The Wire? I watch anime. No offense. But yeah, so if you haven't watched The Wire, you should watch The Wire. It is a very good and very important show. It has so much to say about the problems with society, politics, the police, capitalism, education, the press. Like, it is so in depth, that show. Devs, I saw Devs, yeah. In fact, I did a little thing a while back when I was trying out this short video format about shows you should watch. Devs was fantastic, yeah. Same with Barry too. I know Dylan as well watches Barry. I think I also introduced you to that as well. But yeah, Barry is very good. Jesus Christ, that final season was bleak, but it was damn good. I've watched the first episode of Fallout, and I quite liked it. I am usually very skittish about adaptations, especially video game adaptations, but honestly, I really like that first episode. I don't know how long it takes to get going, if you know what I mean, where it kind of like sticks. So we'll see about that. But I think we'll watch the final episode of Shogun tonight, because that penultimate one, whew, kind of a bit of a pun here, but what a banger. Gotta BRB again, my boss is calling again. Ah, that bastard. Kyle MacLachlan is great in everything that he's in. Although, maybe not Showgirls. God, what a movie. Weird fucking movie. Yeah, I find it like, with most of the TV shows I watch, I end up being the one that introduces it to other people, as opposed to them introducing it to me. And, you know, one of my past jobs was actually working in television, where we decided which shows to buy, so I've kind of got an eye for it, I guess. But yeah, it's rarely the case where someone will come up to me and say, oh, you should watch this. Instead, I'll be asked like, what you're watching right now, what do you like right now? And usually people like the stuff that I recommend to them. It's rare that they say they don't like the stuff. My girlfriend likes The Wire. I should watch it. Yes, you absolutely should watch it. Dylan, you especially should watch it. Believe me, you would take to that show like a fish to water. Yes, you should absolutely. The Wire should be on the top of your priority list. In fact, pretty much everything that David Simon has made. The Wire, Treme, not as much. Generation Kill, The Plot Against America, The Deuce, like all of it is really, really solid. Yes, Shogun does make my wife very, very anxious. But, I mean, it makes me anxious too. It's a very tense show. My sister goes through my part of the accounts to see what I'm watching for a new series. It's not a bad idea, actually, yeah. In fact, I should probably tell that to my in-laws, because they're always looking for stuff to watch. I could just say, oh, just check out my profile and you'll see. I don't watch anything unless someone tells me to. Well, there you go. Go watch The Wire. Go for it. It's all on HBO Max, I believe. Or just Max. Whatever they call it now. My issue of being chronically behind is not having access to streaming services. I end up watching a lot of YouTube on my time or hijacking friends' accounts when visiting. That's why, you know, probably shouldn't say this out loud, but that's why I do a lot of piracy for the stuff that I end up watching. Like, you know, stuff on like Paramount Plus or Peacock. We have the account for my in-laws as Netflix, but we don't really watch that these days. And they added that fucking ball ache of a password protection system on it. So, you know, we have to like decide in advance who's going to watch the most Netflix this month. And yeah, it's bullshit. I trust your judgment on I trust your judgment on what I would like, my friend. Give it a look. I gotta finish fucking Succession. Yes, Succession. Succession is incredible. I was very reluctant to watch it at first, just because I thought to myself, like, I don't want to watch a show about rich people doing rich people things. But God, was I wrong. I mean, yes, it is about rich people doing rich people things, but it is an incredible show that is very, very deep. I don't want to say too much about it, but it is very, very good. If you haven't watched Succession, it's really good. But yes, if you are someone that doesn't have access to streaming services, if you want to save some money, get a VPN and learn how to pirate stuff. I will be upfront about this stuff with you. Yeah, just pirate it. It's fine. I'm not going to judge you. In fact, and I'm not being paid to plug this here or anything, if you did want to get a discount on a VPN, my Surfshark discount is still active. I think it's like Salari or something. So yeah. Put it this way, the amount of money you'd spend on a VPN is way, way less than you would spend on a streaming service for a year. Anyone watching Slow Horses? I've never heard of that before. Also, hello, Karashu. How are you doing? My dear moderator / graphics guy. I'm showing my newest partner Star Trek right now, so that's 1 day a week. Plus I gotta watch Dropout shows when they come out. Dropout. You talking about the Elizabeth Holmes? Oh my cat Camus is up to his business. You're talking about the show about Elizabeth Holmes? Because that was, yeah, Dropout with that. The Dropout was really damn good. Because I actually didn't really know anything about that whole Theranos side of things before I watched that. And Jesus Christ. Elizabeth Holmes is one of history's greatest monsters. British TV series on MI5 rejects section. Oh. Is it like a comedy or something? What is he doing? Okay, he's just sitting there. I don't always trust him when he's sat there. Gets up to shenanigans. I will watch Star Trek The Next Generation someday. It has always been one of those things that I've been curious about. Slow Horses is Gary Oldman in it. Ooh. I do like some Gary Oldman. Surface on Apple TV Plus is really good. I haven't heard of that either. In fact, one recommendation for you. It's not on Apple TV Plus. It's on Peacock. So if you want to, pirate the shit out of it. I don't care. The show Poker Face. It's got Natasha Lyonne in it. It is a very charming callback to like 70s detective shows. It's by Ryan Johnson, who made like Looper, Knives Out, Glass Onion. It's a very fun show. It's so well produced. It's really enjoyable, and it's one of those shows just like a week to week thing, like the sort of self-contained stories. So yeah, try out Poker Face. It's really fun. Camus wants a snack. You better not start scratching those monitors. No, Dropout is the internet streaming service run by Robert Reich's son. Oh, I've never heard of that. Highly recommend Tokyo Vice. I've seen that advertised on Max. I know it's got Ansel Elgort. Is that his name? I haven't heard much about... I've heard that the second season is much better than the first. My partner is childhood friends with one of the Dropout casts, so I'm this close to meeting Brennan. Oh yeah, I remember you telling me about that actually, yeah. I remember now. Oh, you watch Poker Face, Dylan. Good to hear. Yeah, it's a very fun show. It's delightful. Not too heavy or anything like that. If you're looking for something light with a good amount of drama, a good amount of levity to it, then yeah, you'd really like it. I like to watch shows in the SF Bay Area so I can judge them for getting things wrong. And yeah, that was Dev's too, yeah. God knows how much that apartment would have cost, because that was a nice apartment that those two lived in. But yeah, Devs was very good. Devs is also a one-off thing as well, so I think it's like 8 episodes long, then it's done. It's just a long movie, basically, and it's all on Hulu. Let's see, what time is it right now? Oh, I think I'm gonna actually have to wrap it up, unfortunately. Yeah, I gotta get dinner. It's been a while since I ate. So yeah, next week, I believe I'll do another stream, a baking stream. We'll be making the apple crumble. I'll let you know if things change, but should be on track for it. Let me pause the music for a second. Okay, we will do the... I need to go get nuggies for my stomach. You know, funnily enough, I always refer to nuggets as nuggies and tenders as tendies, and it's kind of slipped into my regular vocabulary now, where like I've actually said tendies to people who do not use the word tendies, and I just find that funny. But anyway, thank you very much for watching, everyone. This has been a delightful stream. I'm glad that I've been able to share some of the more unfortunate moments of my years under parental guidance or whatever, I don't know. But yeah, we'll see you again next week. This boy, well, he's out of shot right now. Okay. He's there with his back turned against me looking at nothing. It's kind of weird. But yes, thank you very much once again. I will see you next week, hopefully with the baking stream, where we'll make delicious apple crumble, which, if you haven't yet, try making it yourself. It's very easy. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day, however long it might be. Enjoy the rest of your week. And I will see you next time. Thank you very much, everyone. Good luck. Always believe in yourself. Bye-bye.